Welcome, everyone. It's so wonderful to see a good turnout. I know it's cold outside and they're predicting some snow, but you hope it's not too much snow. Be like Lithuanian snow. Welcome, and please let's start to take your seats.
I don't know if you will introduce Octavian, but Rosita speaks first because of the logic of the two speeches. She should come and me second.
Good. Thanks for letting me know. And then, yeah, Dr. Jenkins, you're not up here during part one.
Okay.
But
But
you'll
during
sit up
the end
here.
of this session,
Huh?
the end of this session, I come.
Well, we'll do the intermission. We go put on our robes.
Oh.
You'll come in and you'll have. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, members of the clergy, welcome to this very important program. You've ventured out on a Saturday morning in the cold, and it might even be snowing outside, but they're talking about snowing. But this is the place to be. This is a historic venue, this New Yorker hotel. Also, this particular room is of great significance. Yesterday we took, thank you. Some of us met our brides-to-be in this room. I think we're right around over there. Anyone? Okay. Let's give them a round of applause. No, truly a significant place and a significant day. We are here to honor the book launch of a book called The Revelation Spiritual Home, which is about the institution, a global institution founded by our guest of honor, Imboni Radebe. And this will also be complemented by the conferral of an honorary doctorate, a doctorate in sacred theology, honoris causa, to Imboni Radebe. So it's a great day to be together. We're here under the grace and blessing of our beloved True Mother, Holy Mother Han. I know we all think of her at this time and pray for her daily, and really pray for liberation, full exoneration, and victory coming forward. So let's give her a round of applause. Let us begin with prayer. I'd like to invite the Dean of Enrollment Management of HJ International Graduate School for Peace and Public Leadership, Dean Stephen Boyd, to offer the opening invocation. Dean Boyd.
Good morning, everyone. Let's pray together. Dearest, most loving Heavenly Parent, thank you for the opportunity to gather here today in your name for this important event. We invite the presence of your Holy Spirit and ask that you guide this meeting. Fill our hearts and minds with your love and help us take your point of view as we join together. With gratitude, we think of our beloved Holy Mother Han in this moment, knowing that she remains unjustly imprisoned. She is your devoted daughter of heaven, and we send our love and support to her, as well as our prayers that she may be quickly vindicated and freed from this heart-wrenching detainment. Today we honor Imboni Radebe, a champion who has led an awakening of original African spirituality, founding the Revelation Spiritual Home. We ask your blessing upon him. We are blessed also to have with us Massimo Introvigne and Rosita Sorite, and we pray your blessings upon them. We give thanks also to the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification North America and for HJI International for helping to make this event possible. Please be with us and bless all that are here. May your Spirit lift us up, inspire us, and enlighten us. We give thanks to you, dear Heavenly Parent, and I offer this prayer with gratitude, attending Holy Mother Han in my name, Stephen Boyd, a blessed family. Amen and adieu.
Thank you, Dean Boyd. I'd like to read a letter of congratulations from Dr. Ki-Hun Kim on behalf of the Worldwide World Christian Leadership Conference, addressed to Imboni Dr. Uzwilezwe Radebe, founder, the Revelation Spiritual Home, chairman, Interreligious Association for Peace and Development, Africa. Imboni Radebe, our sincerest congratulations on receiving the HJI Doctorate in Sacred Theology, honoris causa, from the HJ International Graduate School for Peace and Public Leadership. Your leadership in African spiritualism is monumental. I'm deeply sorry that I will not be able to attend your doctoral confirmation program. There was an event scheduled here in Chicago for major Christian clergy that I needed to attend, and unfortunately, that prevented me from being with you, although they did talk yesterday on the phone, which was very nice. Personally, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank you for your support for Heaven's providence as it unfolds globally. You went to Korea on your own to give your encouragement to our beloved true mother. It lifted her spirits to see such a filial son. Then you took the message that you received from the Mother of Peace, that we need to be on fire, to the night prayer vigil at the Chunshimwan. This was shared with our international members and has been an inspiration for all who saw you. On behalf of the WCLC Worldwide membership, and I know Reverend Dr. Tanya Edwards is here representing. Thank you. Please stand, Dr. Edwards. May heaven's blessings be with you for this high honor. It is well deserved. Dr. Ki Hun Kim, Chairman, WCLC. Thank you, Dr. Kim. It's now my honor and privilege to welcome the President of Family Federation USA for North America. And I know, speaking on behalf of all of us, but particularly HGI, we're deeply grateful to Reverend Damian Dunkley for his leadership here in North America and for the steadfast support that he has provided to HJI. You know, we, as HJI, previously up in Barrytown, Barbara, as you know, Reverend Robertson, and then 43rd Street for a number of years. And just a couple of years ago, Reverend Dunkley proposed, how about moving into the New Yorker on the 12th floor? And he showed me the space together with Stephen Jarris, and it's a beautiful space. He gave us really the creme de la creme. So we have a wonderful space on the 12th floor. Please come visit. Even while you're there, enroll in a course. But I'm off subject. I really want to say how much we have benefited from the close relationship with Reverend Dunkley that has emerged to our being present here, and with his team, Stephen and Tal and a whole host of others that we're getting closer to. We work together on this with Koichi and our team working closely, and it's been truly rewarding. So very, very grateful to Reverend Dunkley. He's worked passionately to support our true mother during this critical time, and I know tomorrow he's about to launch a national tour or continental tour, so I'm excited to learn more about them tomorrow. But without further ado, let's give a warm and appreciative, grateful welcome to Reverend Damian Dunkley. Thank you, my brother. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Walsh. Let's give a big round of applause to Dr. Walsh and the HJI team. Good morning, everyone. And it's really an honor to greet you all here this morning, and my personal honor to be able to give you a few opening remarks. But first, I'd like to offer everyone a bow. Thank you. Really, thank you for being here. This gathering is bringing together scholars, spiritual leaders, and friends whose paths have crossed for what I believe to be a great historical moment. I'd like to offer first some words for Imboni Khadebe, as well as Dr. Massimo Introvigne and his wife, Rosita Sorite. Imboni Khadebe is a pure-hearted man, and it is inspiring to meet a spiritual leader whose path seems wholeheartedly guided by obedience to heaven. It appears to me that Imboni Khadebe is not someone who sought title or position. He is someone who responded to the call of heaven and the need of his people. Through his institution, I believe millions have found healing, guidance, and renewal. But now I am beginning to understand that his work is touching something even greater, something more than the welfare of those in his care. It seems to me that Imboni Khadebe is serving to uncover the truth and renew the appreciation and application of the ancient wisdom of the African continent. A work that will have both global and historical impact. But his presence with us today is not just ceremonial, it is also a family gathering. My brother, I believe many in this room, though you may not have sought title, I believe many of us are most moved by your self-proclaimed title of son of a beloved true mother. Yeah, thank you. As true mother's son, I can confirm that Holy Mother Han loves you deeply. She is extremely proud of you and very, very grateful to you. So sincerely, it is wonderful to see you here in New York City. God bless you. Thank you. Now for Dr. Massimo Introvigne and his wife, Rosita Sorite. This is definitely a power couple. And a lot of fun to spend time with. Listening to Massimo talk reminds me of looking at a river or a waterfall. It is flowing and clear, and it is creatively consistent. And like his knowledge, perhaps potentially unending. Brilliant, brilliant speaker and a brilliant mind. And it is truly rare to encounter a scholar who combines objective precision with genuine care. That's not easy, and I think Massimo does it to perfection. Massimo Introvigne has written extensively, taught widely, and advised on matters of religious freedom, among others, all over the world. But what makes his contribution stand out is the way he listens. His work is not driven by ideology, but by clarity. Recently, in response to reading one of Dr. Massimo's articles about the situation in Korea, Mother said, Massimo, the Italian scholar, understands more deeply and more clearly than any other leader about what is happening in Korea today. She truly expressed her love to you, Massimo. Working together, Massimo and Rosita make space for others to be understood on their own terms, even and especially when those voices are ignored or misrepresented. And now, the publication of this book, if you can raise it, Dr. Jenkins. I don't have one here. The publication of this book, The Revelation Spiritual Home by Dr. Massimo Introvigna and Rosita Sorite. This book by Cambridge University Press is no small thing. It marks a shift. For African spirituality to be studied this carefully, this respectfully, and published at that level means that the world will begin to pay attention. Adieu. And it reminds us that faith deserves to be documented, not just practiced, but documented and protected so that it is not so easily misrepresented by hostile minds. This book brings African spiritual tradition into the center of the conversation where it belongs. And I believe history will remember that it is this way that Dr. Massimo and Rosita have done such work. Together with Imboni Khadebe of the Revelation Spiritual Home, thank you for the integrity and the dignity that you've brought to this work. We welcome you. And finally, I just want to say a big thank you for choosing New York City as the venue to share in this historical moment. God bless you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Reverend Dunkley. Excellent, excellent presentation. You know, I was, just 2 months ago, I was in Boston at the American Academy of Religion, and there's over 10,000 scholars from around the world who are specialists in religious studies and biblical studies and all the areas related to religion. They have book display tables, and Cambridge University is one of the most prominent book tables, and I'm walking by, and what book do I see featured, you know, standing up, none other than this, and I spoke with the editor of this series, Dr. Rebecca Moore, formerly of San Diego State University, and commends this book highly. So it's getting recognition all over the world. But thank you again, Reverend Dunkley, and I should say really for sponsoring this event as well and being truly our host along with HJI. I'd like to now invite for a musical performance Matogwa Nelson and Tamami Nasuna, who will do a duet together of I Will Rise. They've been supported by our maestro, David Eaton. Please, we'd love to hear from you, Matogwa and Tamami. I Will Rise.
Shattered by tribulation. be mighty, I will rise, arise. I will rise out of the darkness. I will rise out of the shadows. I will rise to be grateful. I will rise for the world to see. I will rise to be me. You have given me everything I need and more. In every moment, your love I adore. I lay at your mercy. Forever I'll stay. Through the storms of my life, you're guiding my way. Out of the shadow, there's a light so bright. At the end of the storm, I can see the light. I will rise out of the darkness. I will rise out of the shadows. I will rise to be stronger. I will rise to be mighty. I will rise. I will rise out of the darkness. I will rise out of the shadows. I will rise to be grateful. I will rise for the world to see. I will rise to be me. Lift your head high and let your spirit soar. With faith in your heart, you'll fear no more. In the depths of despair, hope will abound. I will rise out of the darkness. I will rise out of the shadows. I will rise to be stronger. I will rise to be mighty. I will rise, arise. I will rise out of the darkness. I will rise out of the shadows. I will rise to be grateful. I will rise for the world to see. I will rise to be me. I will rise to be me.
Bravo. Excellent. I will rise. We will rise. Beautiful. Thank you. I want to read one other letter that's been sent, directed to Imboni Radebe as well as Reverend Dunkley. Warm greetings to you. I wish to extend sincere congratulations on the occasion of welcoming Imboni Radebe and Dr. Massimo Introvigne, Mrs. Rosita Sorite, and the successful hosting of the important academic interfaith event. This is from Professor Joseph Maporisa Teguere. He's the Theology and Religious Studies Professor at Cyprus Institute of International University based in Zimbabwe. And he says the publication of a scholarly work by Cambridge University Press examining the Revelation Spiritual Home and indigenous African spirituality represents a meaningful contribution to global religious studies. It affirms the growing recognition of African spiritual traditions within serious academic discourse and highlights the importance of engaging religion through research, documentation, and intellectual dialogue. I also acknowledge the significance of the honorary doctorate conferred upon Imboni Radebe. Such a recognition underscores the value of indigenous religious leadership in promoting dignity, moral formation, peaceful coexistence within contemporary societies. At this challenging moment, I deeply appreciate the intention of this program to be uplifting and supportive of True Mother. Acts of solidarity, moral engagement, principled engagement are essential as we seek to uphold religious freedom, human dignity, mutual respect across cultures and faith traditions. As a scholar in theology and religious studies, and in my capacity as Professor Joseph Maporisa Tegwere, affiliated with Cyprus Institute International University, I welcome initiatives that address contemporary challenges to religious freedom through education, scholarship, and dialogue. Such efforts contribute meaningfully to the development of peaceful, pluralistic societies. Please accept my best wishes for the success of this program and for all related educational initiatives. May these efforts continue to serve the cause of peace, understanding, and the greater good of humanity. With appreciation and respect, Professor Joseph Maporisa Tegwere. So, thank you. So indeed, the work of Imboni Radebe and Revelation Spiritual Home is spreading across the world. Maybe at this time I can briefly acknowledge there are a group of associates and followers of the Revelation Spiritual Home who are based here in North America and in Europe. A few of them have come here today. I want to acknowledge them, and if you'd all, they're really, you know how in anybody's religion, you want your people to kind of impress other people. Even if they don't speak or talk about their theology, you're kind of, ooh, they're top of the line, something. And these people are like that. They're kind of a living witness, even if they're not, shall we say, preaching or something. But if you'd sign, one is a cadet, and she's really directly attending and serving Prophet Radebe. As we know, even in Korea, there are similar roles. And this is Sebisile Ntombela. Sebisile, would you please stand? And we have a wonderful couple with us who have a beautiful young child, I think around 11 months. Did I get that right? And was with us yesterday at Belvedere in East Garden. She went on the whole tour, and Graham Carmichael knew how to get her to look into the camera. It was very good. But please welcome Georgina Fieri and Scott Niall Cannon. Please also acknowledge Tabile Sibanda. Tabile, please. Welcome. Last but not least, Maureen Mpofu. Maureen, welcome. So now we're in for a very high point in this program, and that's where we will hear from the authors of this volume, The Revelation Spiritual Home. It is densely written, rich, powerful content. So I commend it to all, available on Amazon.com, so please get your copy. Reverend Dunkley gave a very nice intro to Massimo, but let me say a few additional items. He's the founder and managing director of the Center for the Studies on New Religion, Chesner, which has international conferences. They were just in South Africa. They're about to go to next year in Taiwan. I know you were in France, I think the year before that. And this attracts people from all over the world, just like this American Academy. He's headed this up for years. He wrote a biography of Reverend Moon in 1979. How many of you even weren't part of this movement before 1979? So he's been studying us and other religions across the world, and as Reverend Dunkley said, I mean, this man pours forth with content. He's brilliant. 70 books, hundreds of articles and publications. He's been advising the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and he edits, many of you probably subscribe to Bitter Winter, which comes out with rich, powerful content addressing oppression of religion in many parts of the world. His co-author and better half, shall we say, is Rosita Sorite. She's a former Lutheran, I don't think she's Lutheran, but she's Lithuanian diplomat. So she's used to the cold, by the way, from Lithuania. And humanitarian expert. She's done decades of work in peace and security and religious freedom, represented Lithuania at UNESCO, the Council of Europe, the United Nations in New York, and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. She's a co-founder and president of Honoree, championing refugees facing religious community. So as Reverend Dunkley said very aptly, they're a power couple. They're both going to speak. They're the co-authors of this volume. And we'll begin with Rosita Sorite, followed by Massimo Intervigni. And we'll take a few questions from the audience. So if something comes up, we'll have a few moments of question. Make it a question and not a speech. So think about your question, not your speech. Please welcome Rosita Sorite.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Good morning, and it's really a great pleasure that you make an effort and came today, this morning, cold and snowy. I'm really deeply humbled to speak, because as you see, there are spiritual leaders, great scholar, and I'm just a diplomat who worked for so many years, so I'm not that important. But in a way, I switched from the when you work for the government, you have no personal voice, and that is difficult, because when you know what is going on, you know the subject, and you cannot speak what you really believe. And once you are free, you do what you believe. And I am starting to stand on my feet and do in what I believe, and I believe in respect of each other. And I believe that today it's we should acknowledge that it's not just a simple event. It's something very special. In particular, knowing what is going on in Korea, what is going on in Japan, I mean, in the context of religious freedom. And we are here, different religious denominations. We are here, different countries, and we can be together. And we can respect each other. Unification Church, for instance, is a religion. The Revelation Spiritual Home is not a religion. It's something totally different, but we can be together. It's not something that is dividing us, because all of us, we are human, and we have a different way of believing something that is very important to us. And I believe that this meeting today is mostly about it. And then we honor one person, but it's just like a specific occasion. But the fact is, let's honor all of us, because it's like, as long as we can do these events like this, we are still in a good place. Yeah. So there is a book, but book is always about something. And I want to talk today about this something, but in fact about somebody. So today is a celebration, as I said, of respect, scholarship, culture, spirituality, but above all, it's a celebration of a life that has become a beacon for many. And so allow me to take you on a journey through that life, drawing on the research that Massimo and I conducted and on the rich documentation available, including the entry we just published in the World Religious and Spirituality Project, the most authoritative online academic encyclopedia of religions. The encyclopedia was started at Virginia Commonwealth University and now has an entry on the Revelation Spiritual Home. After the British Academia, with Cambridge University Press publishing our book, it is now the American Academia that acknowledges the importance of Imboni institution to its most celebrated religious encyclopedia. This man, Inkosi, Yamakosi, Omoya, Imboni Uzvilezve Radebe. I hope I pronounced more or less correctly. In short, we most of the time we say Imboni, or we address Radebe with his clan name. This beautiful man was born as Samuele Mimbiza on November 8th, 1977 in Guguletu, Western Cape, South Africa. Guguletu is a place of hardship, but also of resilience, a place where communities have learned to survive and to hope. It was in this environment that the young Samuel began the experience when those around him recognized as signs of a spiritual calling. Between 1981 and 1983, as a very young child, he has visions and spiritual experience that elders interpreted as manifestations of a divine vocation. Many spiritual leaders in African indigenous spirituality recount early experiences of this kind, but Samuel's were not fleeting impressions. They were persistent, vivid, and transformative. They marked him as someone destined to a path different from that of his peers. These early experiences reveal a pattern that would continue throughout his life, a receptiveness to the unseen, an openness to the ancestral world, and the capacity to interpret visions as messages meant for a community. At the age of 16, in 1993, Samuel joined the Universal Church of the Kingdom of God, a Brazilian Pentecostal denomination in Johannesburg. There, he quickly distinguished himself as a gifted preacher. His sermons carried a force that belied his youth. He became known as a boy preacher, someone whose charisma and spiritual authority were unmistakable even to those much older and much more experienced. This period is crucial for understanding his later work. It was in that Brazilian church that he learned the discipline of ministry, the structure of leadership, and the power of organized spiritual communities. But it was also there that he began to sense that his calling was not to remain within an imported and somewhat racist religious framework. Something deeper, something rooted in the land, in the ancestors, in African cosmology was calling him. The decisive moment came in 2006 at the Wild River near Johannesburg. There, Samuel experienced a revelation that would change the course of his life and ultimately the lives of millions. He saw a golden lampstand with 7 colored candles and beings with abnormally large heads, a vision rich in symbolism resonant with African spiritual imagery and unmistakably powerful. In that moment, he understood that he was being called to establish a new African spiritual institution, one that would restore the dignity, depth, and authenticity of African people. This revelation is the foundational moment of the Revelation Spiritual Home. It is the moment when Samuel Mbiza became Imboni. the seer, the voice of the nation, the one who listens to the ancestors and interprets their messages for the people. 2 years later, on December 5, 2008, he undertook a pilgrimage to the Blood River. This site is charged with historical and spiritual significance. It is a place where narratives of conflict, identity, and memory converge. For the Afrikaners, it is the place in their 1838 victory over the Zulus, which they attribute to the Christian God. Radebe went there, accompanied by followers, which he initially referred to as the Three Mighty. He enacted a counter-covenant at the Blood River, dissolving what he regarded as a curse imposed on Africans. This act was seen by followers as the turning point in African history, marking the reclaiming spiritual sovereignty from colonial powers. African indigenous spirituality is deeply connected to land, rivers, mountains, and the places where ancestors walked. By going to the Blood River, Radebe was reinscribing African spirituality into the geography of South Africa. He was reclaiming sacred space. Shortly later, during a night vigil at one of the main branches of the Universal Church of the Kingdom of God, where Radebe was conducting a service, a young boy reportedly vomited a lion's nail. A spiritual presence subsequently confirmed that this signified the dominion as a consequence of the covenant Radebe has established at the Blood River. On March 22, 2009, the first service after the separation from the Universal Church was held in a restaurant of Gandhi Square, Johannesburg. This was followed by services held in the basement of a building on Plain Street, during which Radebe temporarily named the institution the African Church. These humble beginnings were quickly taken over by a rapid growth. In April 2009, during a large gathering at Johannesburg City Hall, Radebe and his followers adopted the name the Revelation Church of God, which he claimed he had received through revelation. Later, the name was changed to the Revelation Spiritual Home, to emphasize that it is not a church, is not a religion or religious movement. Radebe insists that Africans do not have a religion, they have spirituality. The Revelation Spiritual Home prefers to be called an institution to avoid religious references it perceives as non-African or colonial. In May and June 2012, Radebe reported a spiritual revelation instructing his followers to enter into the covenant with him and his deity. In 2014, Radebe acquired a mountain near Clocolan in South Africa's Free State. He concluded a covenant that was not new, but a reaffirmation of the one at the Blood River. In February 2015, Radebe announced the revelation designating this pact as the Covenant of Restoration. In June 2015, Radebe's followers undertook their first pilgrimage to the mountain to renew their commitment to the Covenant of Restoration. This is their annual pilgrimage, even as its dates and location shifted over the time. It is through this spiritual mountain that the revelations about the corrupted faith began to unfold in successive phases, guiding the restoration of African indigenous spirituality and African identity. The institution insists that although the formal process of restoration African indigenous spirituality emerged during 2010s, Radebe's spiritual gifts had been present since birth, long before the institution's founding. They explain that, like other Imboni, Radebe grew up in a Christian environment. Nevertheless, he carried an inherent spiritual destiny that pointed toward a different purpose. This inner calling distinguished him and ultimately led to the restoration work he later embodied. The significance of this restoration lies in the recognition that African indigenous spirituality has always been present within him. And now, what began a small gathering has grown into what may well be the largest African indigenous spirituality institution, with more than 3 million members and 70 branches across Southern Africa, plus one in Atlanta, Georgia, and one in Ireland. Massimo and I were struck during our fieldwork by the extraordinary richness of the institution's ritual life, the choreography, the music, the dress codes, the symbolism, the cosmology. Everything is intentional. Everything is meaningful. Everything is rooted in African indigenous spirituality. To understand the institution, one must understand its founder, Dr. Radebe. He is a visionary, a strategist, a teacher, and a custodian of African wisdom. He is also a man of remarkable discipline. Those who know him speak of his tireless work ethic, his commitment to spiritual practice, and his insistence on excellence. He is demanding, but he is also compassionate. He listens, he guides, and he inspires. In our research, we encountered countless testimonies from women and men who spoke of how their lives have been transformed and how they had found purpose, healing, identity, and community through the teachings of Imboni. One of the most striking aspects of his leadership is his Pan-African vision. His institution is not confined to South Africa. It is expanding across the continent, and its messages resonate with African people everywhere. Reclaim your spirituality, reclaim your identity, reclaim your dignity. It is called to remember that Africa had its own sacred traditions, cosmology, and ways of connecting with the divine, a call that stands as a powerful affirmation of African spiritual sovereignty. Dr. Rabebe's influence is not limited to Africa. He has traveled internationally, participated in global spiritual events, and brought African indigenous spirituality to audiences who never encountered it before. He has supported the cause of religious liberty internationally. I want to remember here his moving visit last year to visit Mother Hang in the Korean jail. And always we recognized a real friend in the moment of challenge. And now here in New York, we witness another milestone, the conferral of an honorary doctorate. Although he is not an academic in the conventional sense, Imboni is a scholar of the spirit. His teachings are profound, systematic, and intellectually rich. They draw on African cosmology, ancestral wisdom, symbolic interpretation, and ritual knowledge. And at the same time show a deep understanding of interconnectedness of the world. African indigenous spirituality has long been marginalized, misunderstood, and dismissed. First by colonial powers, then by missionary religions, and finally by modern secularism. Imboni tells us it is not a relic of the past. It is a living, evolving, dynamic spiritual tradition. Imboni is the most crucial figure in the contemporary revival of African indigenous spirituality. He is making Asian spirituality accessible to new generations. He is demonstrating that African indigenous spirituality has something vital to offer to the modern world, a holistic understanding of human beings, a deeper respect for ancestors, and a profound connection to the nature. Our world is marked by fragmentation, by loss of meaning, by spiritual disorientation. Many people feel disconnected from their communities, from their roots, from themselves. Leaders like Imboni are essential. They remind us that spirituality is not an escape from the world, but a way of engaging in it. The identity cannot be imposed from outside. Our book is the first academic monograph dedicated to the Revelation Spiritual Home. It is based on extensive fieldwork, interviews, participant observation, and analysis of teachings, rituals, and organizational structure. Our goal was not to impose external categories, but to listen to the categories that the institution uses itself. The book is in many ways a tribute to the richness of African indigenous spirituality, but is also a tribute to the man who has done more than anyone else to bring African indigenous spirituality into this 21st century with dignity, coherence, and vitality. In fact, the book shows that today there would be no revival of African indigenous spirituality without Imboni. If you will allow me to conclude with a personal reflection, which is writing this book was not only an academic project, it was a journey, a personal journey, a journey into the world of beauty, of depth and meaning, a journey into the spiritual universe that is both ancient and new, a trip inside the wisdom and power of Imboni. And I'm sincerely grateful for that journey. I am thankful to be here tonight, celebrating a man whose life has touched so many. As we honor Imboni today, we are not only reflecting on the past achievements, we are celebrating the future, a future in which African indigenous spirituality continues to flourish, in which the Revelation Spiritual Home continues to grow, in which Imboni's message is of restoration, dignity, and spiritual sovereignty continues to inspire. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce the book, The Revelation Spiritual Home, and it is my even greater honor to pay tribute to the man at its center. Please join me in celebrating Inkosi, Yamakosi, Omoya, Imboni, Uzvilezwe Radebe, a visionary, a teacher, a restorer of African spirituality, and now, rightly, a recipient of an honorary doctorate. Thank you very much.
I think she is more than a diplomat. Great diplomat and a great scholar. Powerful presentation. Very, very dynamic. Let's welcome the other half, or the better half, but none other than Massimo Introvigni.
Thank you, Dr. Walsh, Dr. Dunkley, distinguished colleagues, honored guests, dear friends, old friends I'm glad to see here, friends of Imboni, Nkosi, Yamakosi, Omoya, Dr. Uzvilezwe Radebe, and you, friends of dear Holy Mother Han, who fill this hall with your devotion and your hope. Allow me to begin with a moment Rosita shortly mentioned that has already entered the shared spiritual memory of two continents. It is a moment that did not take place in a university lecture hall or a ceremonial chamber, but in a cold Korean detention center. It was there on November 4 that Imboni, Nkosi, Yamakosi, Omoya, Dr. Radebe, walked through the gates to visit an 82-year-old woman unjustly and cruelly detained, a woman millions call the Mother of Peace. I begin here because Rosita and I also went to that jail, and because this moment is emotionally powerful and intellectually revealing. It tells us something essential about the man we honor tonight and about the nature of spirituality itself, its capacity to transcend boundaries, to unite people across traditions, and to illuminate truths that academic categories often struggle in vain to capture. When Imboni emerged from the detention center in Korea, he spoke words that many of you heard and that some of you will never forget. He said that to be there, he had quickly left everything behind. He said that good people plant good seeds, but in a fallen world, they often reap little. He said when he saw Mother Han, she was shining. And he said that energy travels, that even if she cannot see the faithful gathered outside, their energy will reach her, strengthen her, give her courage. These were not the words of a political operative. They were the words of a man capable of seeing the sacred in the suffering of others. They were the words of a man who recognized that authentic leaders, even when shaped by different histories and different cosmologies, speak a common spiritual language. This moment, decisive as it was, is not the subject of my talk today, but it is the doorway through which I want to enter, because it allows us to understand something essential about the book Rosita and I have written. It will enable us to understand why we wrote it, what question we sought to answer, what conclusions we reached. And it allows us to know why the man at the center of the book, Imboni Radebe, is a figure worth of scholar interest for universities worldwide, someone whose life and work illuminate some of the most contentious debates in the study of religion today. When I published my first book in the 70s, my mentor told me something I have never forgotten, and I also mentioned it in a recent conference in Cape Town. He said that publishing a book is a dangerous act. If you publish a bad book, he said, it is a sin you will keep committing even after your death. Every time somebody picks up the book and absorbs false information, you sin again. But if you publish a good book, he added, you will continue earning merit long after you are gone. Writing about African indigenous spirituality, AIS, carries responsibility. It is a subject that is everywhere and nowhere, ancient and contemporary, visible and elusive, revered and dismissed. It is a subject that scholars have approached with fascination, confusion, admiration, sometimes condescension. It is a subject that resists easy definitions, challenges Western categories, refuses to be neatly classified. When Rosita and I began our research, we quickly realized that we were entering a field marked by decades of debate. Scholars argued whether African indigenous spirituality should be considered a religion, a tradition, a worldview, a cosmology, or perhaps something else entirely. They have debated whether it's unified or diverse, static or dynamic, disappearing or undergoing a renaissance. They have proposed typologies only to have them challenged. They've tried to map it only to discover that it flows like a river, changing shape as it moves. One of the earliest attempts to classify African new spiritual movements was made in 1967 by Harold Turner, who proposed a typology that included what he called neo-pagan African religious movements. Nobody will use this label today. It could even be kicked out of a university in the United States. But it had the merit of indicating that not all spiritual institutions in Africa were Christian or Muslim. Turner was a careful scholar, aware of the dangers of imposing Western frameworks on African realities. Yet even he could not escape the limitation of his categories. His quest for a typology was later criticized by James Fernandez, who argued that theological debates so central to Western religion were rarely the focus on African context. Fernandez suggested that typologies often serve Eurocentric dialogues more than African realities. This insight became one of the guiding principles of our book. We realized that African indigenous spirituality cannot be understood through the categories of Western theology. It is not a system of doctrines. It is not a set of beliefs. It is not a religion. It is a living, breathing spiritual ecosystem. It is a way of being, a way of knowing, a way of remembering. It is the whisper in the wind, the rhythm in the drum, the dream that will not let you go. It is the sense that ancestors are near, that the land is alive, that the sacred is not a distant abstraction, but a living presence. To understand AIS, we had to leave behind the libraries and enter the landscape. We had to stand in the Sodilo Hills in Botswana, where rock paintings thousands of years old seemed to pulse with spiritual energy. We had to listen to the stories of those who entered trances to speak with the unseen. We had to observe rituals, songs, dances, symbols that carry the memory of generations. And we had to listen to the voice of the practitioners who often defined spirituality not by what it is, but by what it is not. It is not religion, it is not tradition, it is not a set of doctrine, but it is the breath that animates tradition. It is the fire that gives meaning to the ritual. It is the experience that precedes knowledge and is different from belief. This is why African indigenous spirituality is so difficult to define. It is not a system, certainly it is not a cult, it is not a footnote, it is a way of being, one that has survived centuries of suppression, first by Christianity, then by Islam, then by colonialism. It is a way of being that has been marginalized, dismissed, sometimes persecuted. And yet it is a way of being that is now undergoing a renaissance as millions of young Africans rediscover ancestral wisdom and blend it with modern tools. The sacred is going digital. There are Instagram posts about ancestral altars TikTok videos explaining rituals, WhatsApp groups for spiritual dreams. The ancestors, it seems, have found Wi-Fi. But this renaissance is not without risks. Commercialization, misrepresentation, and delusion threatens its integrity. This is why institutions like the Revelation Spiritual Home insist on structure, discipline, and spiritual rigor. They understand that African indigenous spirituality is not an academic subject of curiosity. It is a site of cultural renaissance, a form of epistemic sovereignty. It is a way for the Africans of saying, we were never spiritually homeless. We were never waiting for others to be saved. We were never without gods, stories, or sacred places. And this brings me, as Rosita said, to the central figure of this book. Imboni Nkosi Yamakosi Omoya Dr. Utswiletswe Radebe. I want to repeat a comment by Rosita, since it is the center of what we are discussing today. To speak of African indigenous spirituality today without speaking of Imboni Radebe is impossible. He is not simply a leader, he is a seer. He sees beyond the visible, hears the voice of the spirits, interprets the message of the divine word for the people. His title, Imboni, is a description of a spiritual function that is as old as Africa itself. Under his leadership, the Revelation Spiritual Home has grown with astonishing speed. But it is not only a spiritual institution, it is also a cultural, economic, and social force. Through Trillion Card Holdings, founded in 2009, it oversees more than 70 companies. These enterprises range from burial schemes, cosmetics, to gyms, restaurants, health supplements, travel agencies, and investment advice. The Siyanga Gakona burial scheme was the first venture designed to serve people excluded from other burial programs. Ubuntu Cosmetics, Black Rhino, gyms, and the Burger Joint and Grill are among the most visible enterprise. And Trillion Cards also breeds racing pigeons, a passion of Radebe since childhood, and Ankole cattle, linking economic activity to African heritage and symbolism. Leadership within Trillion Card includes women in prominent positions, balancing the male-centered spiritual authority of the Revelation Spiritual Home. Members are encouraged to become financially autonomous through distributorship and micro-businesses. Many move from distributorships to independent companies, supported by the African Center of Excellence, which trains entrepreneurs. The Revelation Spiritual Home also sponsors cultural and educational initiatives. The Dr. Radebe Foundation distributes foods and blankets, grants and scholarship, and establishes libraries in African townships. The $1 Trillion Kids Club promotes financial literacy among children, inspired by Radebe's own childhood experiences. Sports clubs, musical and theatrical troupes, publishing houses further extend the institution's reach. In 2023, Radebe was elected African coordinator of the African Forum for Religious and Spiritual Liberty, an idea by Peter Zörer, some of you know, reflecting his commitment to interspiritual dialogue and freedom of religion or belief. TRSH organization is structured to replicate the spiritual hierarchy in the physical world. Imboni's revelations are presented of national significance and is recognized as the spiritual guider of Langa Libalele II, the reigning king of the Amalubi ethnic group. Of course, no movement of this scale goes without challenges. TRSH has faced scrutiny from the South Africa Commission and Protection for the Promotion and Protection of the Rights of Cultural, Religious and Linguistic Communities, or CRL. In 2015, CRL, inspired by foreign anti-cultism, decided it should also extend its authority to religion. And it started picking up several fights with Imboni Radebe, who successfully resist the attempts to be controlled. But in fact, these attempts continue and vigilance is needed. Tonight, as we launch a book and celebrate the conferral of an honorary doctorate upon Imboni, we are thus also honoring freedom of religion or belief. As scholars, moments like these compel us to reflect not only on the subject we study, but on the posture with which we approach them. African indigenous spirituality is not simply another entry in the catalogue of world religions and spirituality. It is a living universe of meaning. And if we as academics wish to understand it, we must begin by acknowledging that our usual instruments are often blunt tools for a reality that is subtle, fluid, and deeply experiential. Too frequently, scholars have approached African spirituality as if it were an archaeological artifact, something to be excavated, classified, and placed behind glass. But African indigenous spirituality is not an object, it is a voice. It speaks through rituals, dreams, landscapes, the memory of communities. To study it responsibly, we must learn to listen. Listening, however, is not a passive act. It requires a willingness to be unsettled. It requires us to take practitioners' emic perspective seriously, even when they challenge the frameworks we have inherited from Western religious studies. When an Imboni speaks of hearing the gods and the ancestors, when a Sangoma describes entering a trance to communicate with unseen, our task is not to translate these experiences into categories that will make us comfortable. Our task is to understand what these experiences mean within their own cosmological logic. This is not an easy shift. It demands humility. Humility to admit that our academic training, valuable as it is, does not grant us automatic authority over the words we study. Humility, however, is only part of the task. We must also be willing to interrogate our own tools. Many of the typologies that have shaped the study of African spirituality were developed in colonial context. often by scholars who, despite their best intentions, viewed African spirituality through the lenses of either Christianity or secular rationalism. These frameworks can illuminate certain aspects of African spirituality, but they can also distort. They can domesticate what is wild, flatten what is multidimensional, reduce the sacred to the merely sociological. And finally, we must be courageous. To take African indigenous spirituality seriously is to challenge some of the foundational assumptions of Western religious studies. It is to acknowledge that the sacred does not always manifest in the ways we expect. It does not always come in the form of scripture or clergy or doctrine. Sometimes it comes in the form of beads worn around the neck. Sometimes it comes in the form of a dream that refuses to fade. Sometimes it comes in the form of a dance that carries the memory of generations. To recognize this as a legitimate expression of the sacred is not to romanticize African indigenous spirituality, it is to respect it. In conclusion, this is what our book attempts to do. It is not an attempt to define African indigenous spirituality once and for all, a task that will be impossible. It is an attempt to approach it with the seriousness it deserves, to listen to its practitioners, to question our own assumptions, and to acknowledge that African indigenous spirituality is not waiting for our academic validation. It is already alive, already evolving, already speaking. The question is whether we as scholars are prepared to hear it, which today means taking off our shoes, even if we have our shoes here, unlike in South Africa, and accessing the platform from which Imboni Nkosi Yamakosi Omoya, Dr. Utswiledzwe Radebe speaks to us. As scholars, we often speak in abstraction, but African indigenous spirituality is not an abstraction. It is a presence, it is a force, it is a fire. And tonight, that fire, this afternoon, it's dark, but it is not night. Today, that fire, despite the snow outside, burns brightly in this room. Thank you.
A real tour de force, a master class in the analysis. Really, thank you very much, both Massimo and Sorita. I'd like to invite up Hector and Elizabeth Barantes to make a flower offering to our two speakers. So if you'd stand, Massimo, please, and Rosita. So we truly got It's just a brilliant presentation. We did go a little over time, so I'm going to have to draw the line. We won't have the Q&A as I had hoped. So I think, by the way, there will be a podcast with our principal speakers today at 3 o'clock in the bank room. And I know many of you have another schedule, but you're welcome to join that. And there will be an opportunity to ask questions there of our speakers. So without further ado, we've gotten from our speakers brilliant introductions to none other than our main honoree today. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Nkosi Yamakosi Omoya Uzvilezwe Radebe. Please, let's rise and give him a good, warm welcome.
Wow. It's cold outside, but very warm inside. Full of love. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Walsh, for thinking about my height and providing some secret compartment so that I could stand among giants. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to be long, and I don't want to actually even steal. I don't want to steal the attention, the light, and the focus on the authors of the book, because I think this is their session. Initially, I did not want to speak. I would have commented, but at 1:27 a.m. this morning, I was instructed to give some input on the subject of the book. So if you will bear with me. I wrote down some points. I hope I'll not go overboard, because once I start speaking about matters of spirituality, then it's like those who love soccer. If they speak about soccer, if I speak about spirituality, then it's a game over. Holy Mother Hand Spirit is with us. Yes. And energy travels. You can't contain energy. You can only contain the physical body. When the Zulu king who took over the Zulu king called Ushaka, which is another history that was misrepresented to the world. He went to England because the kingship of the Zulus were taken. He went to plead under the Britain royalty control that they bring back the kingship or recognition of the Zulus. And one of the soldiers or commanders or generals pleaded with the British royalty at the time and said, please, do not give them back their royalty, because Shaka, the king, is dead, but his spirit lives within the Zulus. So that means they will rise again. Even though he is not alive, but his spirit lives within his people. Truly sent people, their energy and their spirit lives on. Holy Mother Han is detained physically, but her energy and spirit lives on with us outside. And that's why we are here today. She is the glue, and we are gathered upon her energy and her spirit. So you can contain the flesh, but spirit and energy you can never contain. It lives on. I will not make formal greetings. I'll do that on my speech. But I just want to say that indeed Dr. Massimo and his wife are really special people. 2 weeks back, I was speaking about gifts, because people always look at spiritual gifts or those who are called to ministry or this, but our gifts are totally different. And if we focus on our gifts, the world will be a better place than all of us seeking to be others or seek gifts of others. And they have a very profound gift, because African indigenous spirituality was never colonized. I am not advocating for decolonization of African indigenous, because it was never colonized, but it was suppressed. That's why we speak of restoration, not decolonization, restoration of our spirituality. And by the way, I saw him through a vision that is properly documented in the world of illusions and lies today. It's properly well documented on video. I saw him before I saw him physically. And through Holy Mother Han, in a conference in South Korea, met them. And why are they special, as he explained? A lot of academians went to Africa and wrote about us in their own context. And that's why our spirituality today is known as demonic, is known as cult, etc. Spiritual identity is very important. It's very important. You can lose all other identities, but not your spiritual identity. Because it is your spiritual identity that connects you to your roots of who you are. Let me just dwell in before I go on too much. So, this book is one of the first, and I hope you can write what I'm saying down. I'll give you my telephone numbers. And if what I'm not saying does not happen, you can call me years to come. This is going to be a principal book that is properly going to define us as Africans in years to come. This will be the proper reference of who we are. Of not what everybody said we are, but of who we are. It's the first of its kind because it's bringing clarity. After years of colonization, missionary invasion, this is bringing clarity of what our spirituality is. Others talk about only tradition. African indigenous spirituality is not tradition. That's why others call it African traditional religion. Our spirituality is not a religion. It does not have dogma, nor does it even have scripture. African indigenous spirituality is revealed. And those who are called can identify others who are called because there are spiritual principles that we follow. But the West has always framed it as a confused matter because for them it has to follow the traditional ways of having a scripture, etc. It's revealed either than scripted. That's why no matter how much you explain, if one is not spiritual enough to understand, they'll keep on asking you the very same question that we've answered. Because the moment you speak of spirituality, it seems as if you are speaking about something in the air. You can speak for 2 hours, but for them it's, okay, when are you going to start now to explain it? Although you have already explained what it is. Why? Because people have been bound in dogmas. And people are now used to traditions and dogmas that when you start speaking of spirituality, you lose them. Does the scripture not say, the word kills, but spirit gives life? The human species have always been in search for knowledge. I mean, I think scholars who are here, academians, can also agree that in ancient times, knowledge was like gold. And humanity has always been seeking for knowledge. There are different kinds of knowledges. But the most important knowledge is spiritual knowledge. And up to now, humans are hungry for spiritual knowledge. And in fact, that's what gave birth to religions, because humans wanted to understand the Creator. Humans wanted to understand the spiritual dimension. And humans began to create systems and ways in order for them to understand who the Creator is. But the spiritual world does not speak to us through cell phone, television, media. It speaks to us through revelation. So where there is the Spirit, there has to be a revelation. Because it's the only way that the spiritual world can communicate with us. It's through revelation. And we differ. Spirituality is broad. We speak of African indigenous spirituality because spirituality is practiced in context. In Africa, we practice it in the African context. In Asia, Asian context, because it's universal. But there are certain people who get called to become these mediators between the spiritual world and the physical world. And for me, I call it the elephant in the room. Because I think that's where many of us differ. Because it must be me, it can't be you. It's you, but it can't be me. And that's why we have so many of those who claim to speak on behalf of the spiritual dimension. But I want to tell you the sad news. There are very few of them, not many of them. And that's why spirituality is sacred knowledge. You can't find it in every corner. I guarantee you, what we find in every corner can be closer to McDonald's. But not spiritual places. Not. Because it's true revelations. And the most enemies of spirituality, or those who are chosen, are mostly religious people. Of course, not all of them, but most of them. Because they have been too much fascinated or focused on doctrines, but not on spiritual matters. And it is doctrines that gives them arrogance and pride, where church A is better than church B. That preacher is better than that one. We are going to heaven. You are not going to heaven. Wow. Wow. And that is why the world, and especially religious people, could not understand Reverend Moon. They could not understand his language. Because those who speak the spiritual language, it's totally different from the language of this dimension. Totally different. And so those who were religious thought they knew, but when he came, they could not understand him. It's like he spoke things of 100 years to come, when everybody else was behind. And that's a person who's called. They see visions. They are shown past, present, and future. That is why today, even religious leaders are behind calling for the closure of Family Federation in South Korea. And you wonder, how can religious leaders crucify one of their own? Simply because what divides us is the matter of spirituality. I was discussing before this in breakfast with Dr. Michael Jenkins, reminding them of the message that Holy Mother Hunt gave in Africa. Similar to what I'm saying now, where he spoke of missionary invasion in Africa. That was together with colonizers, and uprooted our people from their spiritual roots and began to impose religious doctrines on them. And she spoke. And I said to them, you see, this is what will cause her to have enemies. Because those who are religious do not understand what she's saying and think that she's criticizing their religions. The same as Dr. Massimo was speaking here. Others will look and think we are. The same as those who hear my messages, they'll confuse. African indigenous spirituality carries Ubuntu. I am because you are. I am because you are. We have no business in fighting anybody. It's unity, it's love, it's togetherness. But when you are not spiritual enough you would misunderstand the message and think that it's a critique to whoever you are. And yet it's not, because you lack the spiritual essence and to understand spiritual matters. So those are just my words that I was instructed at 1:27 a.m. this morning to add. But Dr. Massimo and Rosita speaks well of this book, and actually when they presented in Cape Town, when I stood up, I did not know what to say, because they spoke so well about the book, about my calling, about our spirituality, that I did not know. Lastly, when they went to Zimbabwe in their field trip, they had a bad experience because I was not there to accompany them in one of a very spiritual place. And when they came back, they could not understand, and I explained to them, I said, no, the moment you come to Africa and you say that you are a scholar, they think that you are there to take knowledge, go back to the West, alter the knowledge, and present our spirituality as demonic, as a cult, etc. That's why they were defensive, because this is what has been happening for years. This book is not liberating Okhatebe or Revelation Spiritual Home. It's liberating our ancestors. It's liberating Africa. It's liberating our past. It's liberating everyone who's an African descent. Because for the first time, our ways will be respected as they are. As you see, every time you go, I am an African first. Before I'm a global citizen, which I am, I'm an African first. Your roots are important. Your identity does not mean you must be prejudiced to others. But your identity simply means I'm proud and I'm happy because we were all created differently. But why should others hide their identity in order to please other people's identities? And that's why I love Holy Mother Han very much, whom I saw as well in a vision. And there are millions of people who can testify to that, because she is a spiritual woman who embraces everybody without prejudice. Hence, I call her the glue of humanity. Thank you very much.
So, Ms. Hannah, please come and present the flowers. Thank you very much indeed, Mboni Radebe. We'll continue with our program, and I'd like to first ask Dr. Jenkins to come up and say a few words, and followed by Dr. Hamad. Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Dr. Walsh. I want to thank Dr. Walsh and also Dr. Dunkley and also Massimo and Rosita, and especially Mboni Radebe. These leaders on this stage are doing so much to liberate and secure the freedom and release of Holy Mother Han. So let's give them our thanks. Dr. Massimo Introvigna and also Rosita Sorite, we really love you and respect you. They were in Korea with us. We went to the detention center. But their writings are really changing the direction in Japan and Korea to protect religious freedom, but also all over Africa, all over Europe. We're really honored to be with you. Congratulations on the Revelation Spiritual Home book, and really capturing, as Mboni Radebe said, the really spiritual dimension of his calling and his work. And I'm very grateful to Dr. Bakri Kamara of Africa, who Mboni shared with me that that was the person he met first, representing Holy Mother Han. A very beautiful thing. My journey with Mboni Hadebi has been really profound also, because I've stood in the religious dimension of the American Clergy Leadership Conference, the World Christian Leadership Conference, and he has participated with many of our events. And as UPF president for the North America region, we also have the Interreligious Association of Peace and Development, and Mboni Hadebi has always played such a wonderful role there. I can never forget our experiences in Korea with him, honoring Holy Mother Han, honoring other faiths. He has no barriers. There's no barriers between him and Bishop Stallings. He shared with me also that his deep appreciation of Mother Han for coming to Africa and having the courage as a person who's a spiritual leader, but also coming from a Christian perspective in Korea, that she would share that Christianity did not bring the love of Jesus properly to Africa. Many sacrificed, many were great missionaries. Nobody should be diminished, but the reality is, Mother herself said that Christianity was not able to bring the love of Jesus to Africa in the way that it should have been done. And when we were there, Reverend Oliver and I and many of you were there with her in Gorée Island in Senegal. She went from room to room in the same slave mansion with tears in her eyes. She stood at the door of no return. We're literally looking over the Atlantic Ocean where millions had been sent to slavery. It was a holy moment. She blessed that area and asked God to liberate all those ancestor spirits and all those who still carry with them in the spiritual dimension the pain of that mistreatment and total rejection. She prayed for them to be liberated. She said if she doesn't do that, it won't go away. And then she also asked for the repentance of Christians that did not bring the love of Jesus completely. And then she asked for their liberation too, because they're trapped also. So, Mboni Hadebi, you are my brother. You are my true brother. Wow. It was so beautiful when Mother asked him to have a rally for her world tour. And in June of 2019, he filled the Orlando Stadium in Soweto. We were there. Completely hosted by the Revelation Spiritual Home. Completely hosted. And then, after such a victorious experience of tens of thousands of people in unity and harmony, this is a tough one. He was asked to do it again in December. Could you do this one more time in December? Can you imagine? But this time he chose to go to the FNB Stadium, which is over 100,000. So, what was so beautiful was the whole family, the Revelation Spiritual Home, they were there. And his leadership, when he led the procession around the stadium with his staff. He walked around the stadium, but he had Mother ride in a beautiful car. And he asked everyone from every section of the stadium, he'd lift up his staff, and tens of thousands of people in that section would rise up and praise God. And then they lined up and they came through the blessing with his blessing also, his support for Holy Mother Han. I'll never forget that. And one of the most touching moments for me in Mboni was when we had breakfast with Mother the next morning. And to the leaders of the Revelation Spiritual Home, that morning, I saw that all the leaders understood what Mboni Hadebi was doing and were one with him. There was no gap And they understood so well. And we felt like, wow, we are one family. I've never seen that kind of reception for Holy Mother Han. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you, Dr. Michael Jenkins. It's my honor to now welcome the International President of the Universal Peace Federation International, Dr. Tajuddin Ibrahim Hamad.
Thank you very much. I know it's been a long sitting down, so I'll make it short. 2 hours. Good morning, distinguished guests, colleagues, friends, and member of the academic and spiritual community. It's a great pleasure and an honor to join you today to celebrate the launch of the Revelation Spiritual Home. A significant and timely work by Massimo Intervene and Rosita Sorete. This occasion is not only a celebration of a new book, but also a recognition of careful research, thoughtful reflection, and sincere engagement with a spiritual institution. An institution close to my heart, not only as an African, but most important, as a spiritual institution and movement led and guided by a spiritual leader that I dearly respect and cherish, Dr. Khadebi. Dr. Khadebi, it's a pleasure to see you here. Welcome to the Big Apple. I never forget last year I was called by True Mother to go to Africa to speak to Prophet Khadebi about the term of Holy Mother Han. I didn't know honestly what I'm going to say. I was not prepared to really explain what Holy Mother Han means. But I trusted in the integrity of Dr. Khadebi. I said, when I went to his home, spiritual home, I felt I am in a spiritual womb, surrounded by people who are genuine, normal, and beautiful. I sat down in his beautiful office and I prayed to God that I said the thing which Mother Moon wanted me to say to him. And he listened without any interruption. And in the end, with such kind heart, looked at me and he said, yes, I believe she is Holy Mother Han. He said, many people don't understand that. It is written long time ago that she is Holy Mother Han. But now is the time for that to come out, but very few will recognize that. At that moment, I felt God is speaking. And I'm so grateful to him. Every time I meet Massimo or read his writings, I feel enriched, empowered, and inspired. I'm looking forward to reading the book, which was written by him and Rosita, with her perspective shaped by her experience in human rights advocacy, intellectual dialogue and intercultural dialogue, and on the ground engagement with her real communication and real lives. At a time when misunderstanding about religious movements can easily be led to fear, stigmatization, or exclusion, I trust this book will serve as a reminder of the importance of dialogue, empathy, and evidence-based understanding. I hope it encourages us to listen more carefully, to ask better questions, and to resist easy labels in favor of deeper comprehensions. Today, we congratulate the authors not only for completing this important work, but also for contributing meaningfully to a global conversation about spirituality, freedom of belief, and coexistence. We also acknowledge the courage it takes to address complex and sometimes controversial topics with honesty and respect. On behalf of myself and Universal Peace Federation International, I extend my warmest congratulations to the distinguished authors. May this book reach a wide audience, inspire thoughtful discussions, and continue to promote understanding across cultures, beliefs, and communities. Thank you and congratulations once again of this remarkable achievement. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Hamad, for those beautiful remarks, and Dr. Jenkins for both of you. I wish we had more time. But we're going to close out this part of the program. We have a final musical performance. This time, Omema will be the name of the song. And once again, I invite Matoga Nelson and Tamami Nasuna.
Everybody. Now this is an upbeat song, an upbeat tempoed song. So if you feel called to, you can stand, you can dance, you can move around. It's okay. I know you've been sitting for a while. I know he loves me. I know he cares. Whenever I call, he always is right there. In times of trouble, he is my help. Yeah, I know no fear. I know he'll be right there. Hey, he really does what he says he will do. My God really moves. Oh, hey, why would I doubt when he always comes through? My God really moves. Oh, he really, really moves. Oh, I know he loves me. I know he cares. Whenever times of trouble. He is my help. Yeah, I know no fear. I know He'll be right there. Hey, He really does what He says He will do. My God really moves away. Why would I doubt when He always comes through? My God really moves away. He really does what He says He will do. My God really moves away. Why would I doubt when He always comes through? My God really moves away. He really, really moves away. He really, really moves away. Oh, Mama, you're always on time. You can't do no wrong. Oh, Mama, you leave the 99 always for the one. Oh, Mama, you're always on time. You can't do no wrong. Oh, Mama, you leave the 99 always for the one. Oh, Mama, you're always on time. You can't do no wrong. Oh, Mama, you leave the 99 always for the one. Oh, Mama, you're always on time. You can't do no wrong. Oh, Mama, you leave the 99 always for the one. Hey, He really does what He says He will do. My God really moves away. Why would I doubt when He always comes through? My God really moves away. He really does what He says He will do. My God really moves away. Why would I doubt when He always comes through? My God really moves away. He really does what He says He will do. My God really moves away. Why would I doubt when He always comes through? My God really moves away.
No, we're not done. All right, this is the second part of the bridge. And we're just going to repeat some of the same words. You guys can sing along with us.
So glad you leave the 99 always for the one.
That's it. So here.
So glad you leave the 99 always for the one. So glad you leave the 99 always for the one. He's always thinking of us, always thinking of us. So glad you leave the 99 always for the one.
Come on.
So glad you leave the 99
Can't hear you.
always for the one. So glad you leave the 99 always for the one. Only overwhelming, never-ending love of God. So glad you leave the 99 always for the one. Only overwhelming, never-ending love of God. So glad you leave the 99 always for the one.
Thank you.
So we'll now take a short intermission. We have a short conferral of the honorary doctorate next. So let's take 15 minutes. You can use the toilet, have another cookie or coffee, come back. The remaining, I promise you, the remainder of the program will be about 20, 25 minutes. But we want everybody here. It will be the conferral of the honorary doctorate on Imboni Radebe. So please return. They'll do a little change on the stage, and be sure to be back here in 15 minutes.
Hello, everybody. Can I ask you to come back into the room and take your seats? If I could have your attention, we're going to start our procession in 3 minutes. If everybody could come back in, take your seats. If there's anybody in the back outside, if you could call them also to join us. We'll be starting in 3 minutes, everyone. Please come take your seats. Ask your friends to come in also. Have everybody seated and ready when the official procession comes in. Please come in and take your seats, everyone. Please be seated. If you could conclude your conversations and just take a seat, we won't want to keep you so long. Everybody, please come in. Hans, everybody in the back, please have a seat. Shh. Thank you. Please take your seats, everyone. Thank you. Everyone, let us now rise and welcome the procession, including HJ International faculty and staff, and our special honoree. As they come in, let's welcome them with an applause. Let's welcome our procession.
Mr. President, welcome, audience and friends of HJI. Welcome to this convocation for the awarding of an honorary degree.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Thank you for joining this important ceremony, which will confer the doctorate in sacred theology, honoris causa, to Mboni Radebe, a very solemn and important and joyful ceremony we will have together. I now will ask that the video team show a brief introduction to HDAI. So ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, members of the clergy, members of the HJI Board of Trustees, faculty, and staff who you see featured on our podium and dais, see me welcome to this conferral of the Honorary Doctorate Honoris Causa on behalf of the HJ International Graduate School for Peace and Public Leadership. We are in the HJI campus right now. You like our campus? And of course, we have been well introduced to our honoree, but I will once again recite the name Inkosi Yamakosi Omoya Uzelezwe Radebe, our special honoree today. To read the citation, and there are multiple definitions of citation, but one is a document that overviews the accomplishments of the recipient of the honorary doctorate. And to read that, I invite the chairman of our Board of Trustees, Dr. Franco Famularo.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. This is a citation of meritorious achievement. Inkosi Yamakosi Omaya Uzwilezwe Radebe. As a prominent South African spiritual guider and leader, is the founder of the Spiritual Revelation Home and the foremost advocate for African indigenous spirituality, guiding Africans to reconnect with their spiritual roots and providing guiding principles for the authentic and ethical practices of ancestral traditions. In 2009, in South Africa, you founded the Revelation Spiritual Home. Since then, under your leadership, the spiritual home and institution you established has grown to include more than 90 branches across South Africa, as well as one in Ireland, Europe, and one in Atlanta, United States of America, serving hundreds of thousands of devoted followers in South Africa and many more across the continent and around the world. At the same time, and rooted in the values of indigenous African spirituality, you have promoted interfaith dialogue, mutual respect, and cooperation among believers and all religious and spiritual leaders, recognizing that interreligious peace is a prerequisite for world peace. From an early age, you were called to your spiritual journey in search of the roots of African spirituality. Your spiritual calling and mandate have drawn attention on a global scale, and you are recognized as an authentic spiritual guide. Imboni, a term denoting a high-ranking leader in African indigenous spirituality. Throughout the world, you have championed African indigenous spirituality as a path to reclaiming African identity, distinct from Western religions. A recipient of the 2025 Sunhak Peace Prize Founders Award, you are a leading figure in the promotion of international religious solidarity, and toward this end, you chair the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development of Africa, working for peace and poverty alleviation. In addition, you are a successful entrepreneur, founding the Trillion Cart Investment and other companies involved in agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and property development. For your many accomplishments and for your exemplary leadership, we honor you this day with the doctorate honoris causa in sacred theology from the HJ International Graduate School for Peace and Public Leadership.
Thank you, Chairman Famularo. Mboni Radebe, on behalf of the HJ International Graduate School for Peace and Public Leadership, the Board of Trustees, Faculty, and Administration, I am pleased to confer upon you this honorary doctorate of sacred theology, honoris causa, in recognition of your life of outstanding accomplishments. I now call upon Reverend Damian Dunkley of our Board of Trustees, together with Dr. Franco Famularo, our chairman, to place the doctoral hood upon the honoree. Franco, take a photo together. And please remain standing. I will now present the diploma. It's written in Latin, so we're really doing it the right way. So once again, let's congratulate our honoree who will now deliver his acceptance speech.
Once again, thank you, Dr. Walsh, for my platform. I'm not gifted as you in tallness. In the spiritual energy of Dr. Hakcha Hangmun, Holy Mother Han, Mother of Peace, the glue of humanity, who has put all of us together, President of HJI, President Dr. Thomas Walsh, Reverend Damian Dunkley, Dr. Massimo and Rosita, Dr. Michael Jenkins, Dr. Taj Hamad, and all protocols observed. I will not read any speech. I'll just speak from my heart. Oh, and my members who are here to support me today. Kikiza kakhulu. That is African style of, what is it, humiliating? Huh? Yeah, I don't know what they call it. As I said in the first session, it is a great time not only for me. I don't represent me. I present Africa. I present our ancestors. And indeed, the Pisces era is gone. We are in the Aquarius era. We're in the era of awakeness. The era of ignorance is gone. This is the time of spirituality. This is the time of questioning. And this is the time of intelligence. And for the first time, I see an African being honored who is authentically following his path. And those who honor us are not also honoring an individual, but they are honoring Africa and its ancestors. Indeed, once again, Holy Mother Han, who sits above all of this, is making good with the Western worlds, with Africa. If one can have an insight, you will see that. I was honored recently in Turin, Italy, with a global award that speaks on our spirituality. I was honored again in South Korea at the Sanhak Peace Prize about champion our own spirituality. Here I am today, being also awarded for championing our spirituality. Indeed, HJI, Holy Mother Han, Unification, UPF, are leading the world in making good of the Western worlds and Africa. This is a historic moment that one needs to go deep to understand what is happening. This is not just an ordinary event of just an honor to a man, but this is an honor to a nation that has suffered humiliation, oppression, and a continent that has been named the Dark Hole, a continent that has been despised, despite enriching the world with its minerals and knowledge. But today it's known as a continent that is dark, that has no knowledge, that is uncivilized. And who is the leader championing all of this? It is Holy Mother Han and her organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give my heartfelt love to the HJI University. And we will be working close with our own university, because what we see in the world today is the world speaks and promotes education, which is good, but education that lacks substance, education that lacks spirituality. That is why today, and I hope I will be forgiven for the language, we have so many educated fools, because they are so educated and so arrogant, but they are spiritually void because of the education system that is out there. Atheists who think that their earthly knowledge has made them mini gods on earth, because education lacks substance. We have opened a university which its foundational teachings will be based on spirituality. We will be partnering with HJI so that from here in Africa, we could champion a new education that will not only teach people only about the systems of the world, but it's going to give them substance, spiritual foundation, which will be important. We believe that in years to come, President Dr. Walsh, through this partnership, we will be having graduates that will be both earthly educated, full of earthly knowledge, but spiritually rich, who will have empathy and wisdom. On those words, once again, thank you very much for grazing the snow outside, which we don't have in the Republic of South Africa. So when I come out of here, I'll go quickly out somebody warned me and said, don't get sick. And I'll take some pictures because for us, we don't have snow. We are in the middle of summer. So I'll enjoy your snow in New York. And I think that I'll go back with my honorary. I'll go back with my pictures of snow. Well, it was a very fruitful time to be in the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Let's take one more photo with the stage party. You stand up. One photo.
I'm now taller than all of you.
Yes, yes. Good. Enjoy it. You earned it.
We run, just you hold this. Hold it. Okay, we're going to have a formal recession. We're going to go to that back door, come right back, and we're going to have a photo with everybody taken this way. But we do want to just conclude the ceremony with the recessional. Are we ready?
Hey, everybody. So this is a really big room, and unfortunately, there's no cameras that can cover you guys on the edge. So you want to be in the photo, you're going to have to move in. Okay, just let you know. If you want to be in the photo, move in. If not, there's plenty of nice spaces here for people who had to leave. So if you want to move in, just squeeze into the photo. even in these places in the middle, these little aisles here, that would be great. And then we can have everyone in the photo would be really wonderful. So let's see how we're doing. So basically, this kind of goes as wide as the, where are we going? Anyway, it is what it is, guys. We'll just go with it. What are we doing with the banner in the back there? Are we putting that in? What's happening? Okay. Yeah, sorry guys, just a minute. They're trying to pull up the banner in the back here for us. And then we should be good in just a moment. Okay, you are not in the photo. And way on the edge, you're not in the photo. But anyway, that's what it is. So here we go. We're all ready? Banner's still not quite ready. We're still working on the banner. Still waiting on the banner. Practice your smiles, you know. We can be good. Okay, here we go.